Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everyone Can Try podcast. We are back with another episode. We didn't keep you waiting that long again this time. And we are very excited because we are talking of one of our own squad members, Jayson, who has come and joined us on our podcast today. And we can't wait to hear his story and speak to him today. So I'll hand it back over to Johnny.
Yeah, Jayson, thank you very much for joining us. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. We'll probably go into this a bit later, but your ultra running career and adventure racing career is very, very exciting. It's something that I probably want to do in the future. So I guess the majority of this podcast will probably be me asking questions about how you prepare for those races and what you eat and what you have to do at all the aid stations in between. So we'll come to that later on. But I guess firstly, I just want to know a bit about yourself. So you actually got into running quite a lot later in life, but what was your background in sport before you got into running?
Thank you for having me on. It's pleasure to be here. And my background, I grew up living in the middle of nowhere in the edge of Cropton Forest in North Yorkshire. So if I ever wanted to go and see my friends or anything like that, I had to jump on a bike or walk or whatever. So I've always been outdoorsy, kind of orientated. And then I went off to join the army at 17. So there was quite a lot of sort of varied physical pursuits involved with that. I was always into cycling when I was a kid, mainly mountain biking and stuff like that as well. And kind of just enjoyed being outdoors and doing that sort of thing. It wasn't until later in life, at the age of 35, that I really got into running. I joined a local running club, met my wife, and through the running club, and we just got into it in a fairly big and focused way. And it was sort of about the time that ultra running was starting to get quite popular. I'd never heard of an ultra run before that. But yeah, it was something that Kim sort of started to mention, and we were like, oh, I wonder what it would be like to run for, like 40 miles and stuff like that. And could we do it and things? And we were sort of, I guess, captivated with the idea of doing that. So that's how it sort of started.
But when you joined the army when you're 17, were you running at all, or were you just cycling and just all around kind of fitness stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I did cross country at school, probably because I was better at it than other people. And I wasn't very good at football. So it was like, it's something I'm sort of good at. So I did like cross country races and stuff, did okay with that, but never. I mean, it's going to make me sound old, but this was back in the 90s, and I think sport at school was quite different back then. It was like football, or that was kind of it. So it was a bit of cross country, running and stuff. But I think mountain biking was kind of the thing that like boys my age were into at the time. That was growing in popularity. I didn't have a huge sort of background in running, but it was a general fitness that I sort of took into the army that really helped me.
And we've got a lot of forces members at Brownlee Fitness, and I was always kind of wondered, is fitness a massive part of the army? Do they encourage you to stay fit, or do they force you to stay fit, or do they allow you to stay fit? And what does that fitness involve? Is it more gym stuff, or is it more actual go out for runs or go out for marches?
It was very. Sorry, Andy, go on.
You might need a whole podcast of that one.
Yeah. I think there was like the basic training aspect where you first join up is quite physical. You're expected to meet certain targets with that, but then it very much depends on where you get posted after that and the type of regiment or the type of posting that you're at. For me, my first posting was actually it was Royal Dragoon Guards, so it was a tank regiment, and fitness was definitely not a focus around that. Definitely not. They just come back from a long-term posting in Germany, and there was a lot of drinking involved in that kind of culture at the time. So I spent 4 years there, and it was actually quite hard to kind of break out of that and sort of do your own thing. But then I got posted to 5-9 Commando Squadron, and that was obviously, part of 3 Commando brigades, a part of the Royal Marines as well. And the focus there was very much about physical fitness. If you didn't pass the All Arms Commando course, then you didn't stay there, you got posted out. So yeah, it kind of depends where you end up, as far as what you end up doing.
And because of that background, do you think it made it a lot easier to get into the ultra running side of it? Because in my experience, you sort of, it's not as simple as this, but you have a couple of different ways people get into ultra running. You either get the guys who have got a general background of fitness, who are just strong, tough, can never run that fast, but are really good at just keep on going, not giving up. And then you get the people who maybe come from a background of running a bit faster and go, actually, I want a new challenge. I want to do something a bit different. People like myself who think, oh, I could go and run 5-minute Ks all day. And about 50K later, you're walking up a hill and you're absolutely shattered and you can't go any further. So I guess, did your army background help you get into the ultra running?
I think, yeah, you definitely bring things into that you pick up with the forces in general. I guess the limitations with ultra running aren't necessarily like your aerobic fitness isn't such a limitation. The limitations tend to be, a lot of other elements, like just how much you can eat, and how long you can keep eating for, problem solving as things come up, just being used to being outside for a long period of time, sometimes in, not very pleasant weather. So I think all these different skill sets and levels of experience that you might have from other areas in your life can kind of come into ultra running. It's not necessarily, that running kind of athlete background that necessarily helps you as much. Although it's one less thing to worry about if you could run fast.
No, definitely. And I guess a highlight of your career is probably the spine race in 2020, which we'll come on to now. But if anyone doesn't know about that, it's obviously 268 miles. Is that right? The Pennine Way, which is a long way. And I've seen, every time it's on, I've seen footage of it being so cold, icy, ridiculous temperatures, people getting confused and actually turning around and running back the wrong way, and crazy stuff. But you obviously raced it in January 2020, and kind of before COVID, I guess, as well. So it's very strange. But you were doing great. You were catching John Kelly, who actually went on to win it. And then you pulled out at 235 miles out of 268 miles. So I guess, well, firstly, that's amazing, because I don't think I could run 235 miles. But we'll come on to the actual race itself. But I was thinking before this, how do you train for it? How do you prepare for it? Because you can't exactly go out and do a 100-mile run or a 200-mile run and go, oh, I'm nearly there. So, and you can't do 8-hour runs every day. So how do you actually prepare for it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's like so many different versions of how people prepare for it. I mean, I was captivated with it, for quite a few years when I first started getting into running, and I was looking at this race going, how on earth do people do this? And, that's, because it's 7 days long, and it's non-stop. It's not a stage race. Your time starts at the start and finishes when you actually get to the end. And it was really, once I got a little bit more experience, I'd done a 50-mile race and then eventually a 100-mile race, and you kind of start, then you gain that confidence from those events, and you start to think, well, yeah, could I actually do it? I think one of the big things I did was I actually looked at what the average pace would need to be to finish, within the first person finishing, the last person finishing.
And that's
then
average pace overall. Sorry, on moving pace.
Average. Average pace over the whole time frame. And the record. I think the record for the Pennine Way at the time, it was 4 miles an hour.
4 miles,
and that
4 miles an hour.
was
so
in
15-minute miles. So which doesn't. This is my kind of experience of this running. Is you think of that and you think, oh, that's not that bad. Keep on moving, and you basically do that. I know it's different terrain, but if you were to tell anyone to run a marathon at that pace, feel really slow. But then when you got to do that for 7 days, it's a different world. Add your stops in, add the weather in, add the terrain in. It's a different world.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at the average pace that people are doing towards the end, and it's literally 2 miles an hour. So then you start to think, well, yeah, like all I need to do is just keep moving. I think it becomes less of a running type event and more of you sort of run. My strategy was very much, well, I'll walk any climbs and just very easy run flats and downs and do that. Have that strategy for as long as I can. And then I just started doing that in training runs and starting to get a feel for actually how does that feel. And then just gradually increasing the time that I was doing that for. So my longest training run was probably never more than like 8 to 10 hours max.
And what pace?
But yeah, it was like I was aiming for like between 4 and 5 miles an hour. So I was thinking less because of the nature of the terrain. It's up and down, it's boggy underfoot. You're thinking less about your average pace over each mile than just thinking of your average time it's going to take you to do 4 or 5 miles. And I think, just breaking it down and then building up the time that you're doing those long runs for was really part of the key aspects of preparing for that. As well as just being strong, a lot of strength and conditioning kind of stuff. Because you're out on your feet, your body's getting hammered, quite a lot. So it's just being able to handle, that time on your feet as well.
And you said you did some races beforehand. I've always wondered, because when I've kind of gone up the different distances in triathlon, you do a sprint race and you think, I couldn't do that twice again, do an Olympic distance race. You do Olympic distance race and go, I definitely can't do a half Ironman. I can't do that twice. So whereas actually sometimes the shorter ones are harder. When you did your first 50 mile, and then you say you did 100 miles as well, did you finish those and go, 50 miles enough for me? I don't know how I'm going to do 100 mile. And then finish 100 mile and go, well, that was enough. I definitely can't do 268 of those. Or did you finish the 100 mile and go, actually, I can do more?
No, I was pretty broken at the end of all of those and did think, because how am I going to, how could you do more than that? But then, I think the first time I did anything longer than 30 miles was, my first ultra was 60 miles. It was a hard nose 60 along the coast where, Whitby and all around there. So it was along that coastal path, very up and down. And
really slippery.
It was horrendous. Yeah. And I bonked after like 30 miles. I got my nutrition completely wrong. I was just a mess. I didn't know how I was going to keep going. I had a really good crew supporting me who helped me quite a lot with that. And I finished, but I was pretty ruined at the end. But then you pick it apart and you sort of look back and reflect and go, well, what can I do better next time? So then I did a few more events of that distance until I got to a point where I was like, okay, I can see how I could go longer. And you slow down, it's, you're not going to do a 100-mile race at the pace that you're going to do 50 miles. At some point you are going to walk. And I think mentally that's quite difficult. And you kind of need to accept sometimes that you're just going to have to walk and not be able to run everything.
I guess sometimes it's probably actually better to accept you got to walk before you wait until last minute to walk, and then it's game over because you're gone. So you're almost better walking earlier and going, okay, if I walk now, I'm looking at the bigger picture rather than I'm not going to walk because of my pride. And then 10, 15 miles later, you've pulled out because that's it. You're completely gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you've gone, it's so hard to sort of come back from that as well.
Did you train? Well, because I've done not the same, mate, but similar endurance stuff. Did you train sleep deprivation? Did you actually train yourself to do that?
Do you know what? I didn't, because I think I'd already had quite a lot of experience of it, especially doing my alarms commando course, because that is a big part of that course. They use sleep deprivation to test you quite a lot. So I'd had experience of that. I had experience of hallucinations and all of that. So I kind of felt I would know what was coming as far as that's concerned. So I actually went into the event having gone the other way and actually trying to bank as much sleep as I could, so I wasn't tired when I started, which is quite hard. Obviously, the week before a race, you're quite nervous and you maybe don't sleep as well. But yeah, I think if you've got experience of doing it already in other areas of your life, having children and staying up all night and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was going to say I'm training at the moment.
Yeah.
I thought back on your banking your sleep though, because I almost think that it's your lack of sleep and what you can cope with is easy come, easy go kind of thing. And if you were to bank those sleep into it, I always think if I'm sleeping really well and I miss 1 hour sleep a night, I feel terrible because I'm so used to it. Whereas almost if I've slept really badly for ages, you get used to it. So you're like, oh, well, normally I get 5 hours. So if I get 3 hours, I'm actually not too bad. So I sometimes think if you bank it and then you don't have any for a few, you might actually make it worse for yourself.
Yeah, I think I guess it's knowing yourself a little bit as well, but it's when it comes to that second and third night of no sleep, that not having the reserves, either through the mental cognitive function, through being tired, or just physically being drained because you've done too much in training. I think that's when it starts to kick in, and I think that's the unknown for a lot of people. Is how am I going to cope? The first night, most people can do like one night without sleep and be okay. We've probably all been out for a night out and being okay the next day. But yeah, it's definitely the second and third night that is that unknown territory as far as how you're going to cope with that.
I guess we can talk about this for hours, but a couple of last quick questions on the spine race. Firstly, did you have a strategy go into it? I always wondered this of, I hope to be at this checkpoint by this time, and then we get 2 hours sleep, and then I'm going to eat this and then go, or to just go out the window completely? Because once you get going, you've got your pace has changed completely, and you just have to go with the flow a little bit.
Yeah, I'd actually entered the year before and started the year before, which was the year Jasmine Paris won it, which was amazing what she did that year, because that was a record that stood for ages. And that year, I think I'd had a bit of a pacing strategy in mind, and I lasted 100 miles in that race, and then had to drop out through injury. Probably trying to keep up with Jasmine as well, to be honest. And I learned a lot in that first year about the fact that you can have a plan, but it'll go out the window in the first 3 or 4 hours. So the following year, I just went into it with a strategy as far as I'm literally going to walk the climbs and easy run the flats and downs, and whatever pace that ends up being, or wherever I end up being at those points in time, that's just what it's going to be. I think so it was like my strategy was to be flexible, really, and just deal with things. One of the big things I was quite aware of was that how many people actually drop out in that first 100 miles. And I would say the biggest percentage of people who don't finish actually it's the first 100 miles that they don't complete. Once you get past the first 100 miles, which sounds mental, once you get past the first 100 miles, your actual statistically your chances of finishing are so high. And it's, that's quite interesting. I think you're into the groove of the event then. All the nervous energy's gone. You're just in this rhythm. So yeah, my strategy was get through the first 100 miles in one piece. And then that's when I started to, after that, I came out, there's not many checkpoints. So that was 100 miles in was the second checkpoint. And I came out of there and I felt great. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to do this now. And I just had so much confidence to actually start thinking about racing it, rather than just sort of looking after myself and with a view to getting to the end. And I think because I was like third in the top 3 or 4, we were all sort of around each other. I then started to think, what do I need to do to win this?
Oh, wow. I bet it's quite nice when it goes from a change of kind of completing it to actually what can you do to win it. But we have two last ones first. Is it what did you fuel it? How did you, what's your nutrition strategy for fueling this kind of thing? And secondly, it must be a quite organisation for your support crew as well, because it's 7 days for those guys as well, isn't it? And they're kind of on call because they don't know. It's not as simple as, I'm going to check myself into a hotel for a night because Jason's knocked me here for 12 hours. Or I'm going to go to McDonald's and come back. There's lots of waiting around for those guys because your strategy goes out the window. So they're always on kind of call waiting for you. So how does it work with them, and how do you know who to choose? Sorry, there's lots of questions in there.
No, that's cool. No, I think I'll do the support crew one first because it's actually quite easy. On the spine race, you're not allowed support crew.
Oh, okay.
So Kim was, just at home watching me on the tracker, updating everybody. But yeah,
some ways that makes it easier, then, isn't it? Yeah, some ways it's easier.
So much easier, and it's then a level playing field for everybody.
So sorry, no one's allowed to be in the checkpoints with you either.
So they have their own. They have their own checkpoint staff who are absolutely brilliant. So they're all volunteers, and they're there to just help you. They're really, really good. But you're not allowed like your own people in the checkpoints. You're not allowed people to run with you. You're not allowed people aren't allowed to come out and give you stuff.
Wow.
So it used to be that you could have that, but then they changed it just to make it a level playing field, especially for like international runners who come over and do the event, and who might not have a support crew. And I think that's what makes it such a unique challenge is there's only 5 checkpoints in the whole thing. So you have to be very self-sufficient, and able to kind of look after yourself. And I think that's it. You get into a checkpoint, you're so tired. You have a drop bag with like spare kit in and stuff. And you end up, you're just so tired. You just sat staring at your drop bag going, I don't know what I'm doing.
But sorry, do you have to organise then for spare kit to be every single one? You have like a checkpoint 1 kit bag, checkpoint 2 kit bag, checkpoint 3 for spare kit bag?
No, that you just get 1 bag and you give that in at the start.
Wow.
And then that gets moved up the course along with you. So there's a massive like logistical machine behind it all. So your drop bag is waiting for you at each checkpoint.
Well, so you have to know exactly what to put in that at the start, because if you set off and then you get really cold and you use all your warm jackets, that's it. You're in trouble. It's kind of game over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a 20 kilogram limit to that. So you do. I mean, that sounds like quite a lot, but actually, when you start putting your kit and your food and stuff in there, you can soon eat through that. So yeah, it's another big part of the challenge with the event.
And nutrition, then, so you have to take all that with you then in your bag and on you. So if there's only 5 checkpoints, you're actually taking quite a lot of food with you. So I guess how did you fuel that?
Yeah, so there's food supplied at the checkpoints. They put meals on for you at the checkpoints, so you can get and it's good food. It's lasagna and pasta and really good food. but you have to have, I think, a minimum of 3,000 calories on you when you leave a checkpoint. So it's up to you what that consists of. You could have 3,000 calories of peanut butter if you want, but you've got to eat that. So yeah, I kind of predominantly use just normal real food, and my sort of approach was, what would I have in a packed lunch through the day? So I had that variety, and then it's sort of like, well, not everything's practical to have in a packed lunch, but how would I approach that? Mixed with a few gels and stuff like that. But basically, the longer you can eat real food, normal food for, the better it is for your digestive system. You're not going at an intensity that you're not getting the blood flow to your stomach, so it is easy to digest food. So yeah, I mean, Thomas's sausage rolls, stuff like that. That's what I started with. After a few days, they're sort of a bit flat, but just as much real food as I could have. A few gels. You are allowed to call in at shops and buy stuff if you really want to. I didn't do that because it just wasn't convenient. But yeah, I think it was checkpoint 4. I had like 3 portions of lasagna. Just if you're good, you just got to be really good at eating a lot of food.
How many calories were you trying to put down yourself a day, roughly?
It's just as many as I could. I didn't have like a target as far as that, because it's just something you can't work out at the time. You really, if it is a constant, I need to be eating and drinking, or thinking about where I'm going. And if I feel okay, then I should eat something. And there might be times, especially through the night, especially in the early hours, where we're just not used to eating anything and our bodies just don't like that, where you just don't eat anything for a few hours until you feel hungry again. And because it is so long, you've got time to kind of play about with it a little bit. You don't tend to get into that state where you're bonking kind of thing. You just feel it with a bit of lack of energy and sort of mental, cognitive function and stuff.
Yeah, imagine the lack of nutrition more catches up on you slowly, rather than in a kind of high intensity race. You just go bang, the lights go out. In that kind of thing, if you don't eat well, it's more either the day after, 12 hours after, that you're like, okay, now I'm in trouble. Because taking fluid all that time must be hard as well. But anyway, we don't want to keep you all day, so we'll move on. I'll come back to you in a couple of years' time when I'm I'm ready to do it myself. It's good that I don't need a support crew, because people are probably sick of waiting around 7 days for me now. They're tracing around the world, so I crack on my own and people can track me. And lack of sleep, I've learned how to do that now. So I just need to now learn how to do 50 mile. I'll start on Saturday. I guess the next one, your triathlon career. You got in triathlon later as well, but you were kind of giving yourself up for a decent triathlon season last year, but unfortunately, it was in June 2024 you had a serious bike accident. Firstly, are you okay to talk about that?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, it was June this year.
June this year, yeah. Oh, June this year.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it seems ages ago.
Yeah.
But sorry, June this year.
5 months ago. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I thought we were 2026 this year. Well, I missed a year. That's how sleep deprived I am. So yeah, June this year. I guess you suffered 2 punctured lungs, 1 collapsed lung, 8 broken ribs, a shattered scapular shoulder socket, and a collarbone. And you were airlifted hospital, and you were in induced coma for a week. And we actually saw you at the Ripon Triathlon probably 2-3 months after it happened, and you were kind of on your feet then. But I guess firstly, for lots of us out there on who ride the bikes, what happened in the actual accident itself? And I'm sure, well, hopefully you can remember some of it, or maybe not. But yeah, what actually happened?
Yeah, I mean, I actually have no memory at all of that, or the 2 days leading up to it, probably, which is quite odd. But I think basically what happened was I was on my bike coming down a road, and it was a straight bit of road. Somebody was coming from the opposite direction, and they either didn't see me or misjudged things, and they turned across in front of me going into their driveway, and I went straight into the side of the car, probably about 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour. So yeah, it was serious enough that I wasn't conscious when the first people on scene found me. Luckily, it was another group of 6 cyclists who were sort of first on the scene, and they basically, 2 of them were ex-nurses, 2 of them were ex-physios, knew exactly what to do, and sorted me out until the air ambulance came, really. So I was unlucky for it to happen, but very, very lucky that those people were the first ones there to help me and knew exactly what to do. So yeah, it was quite amazing.
And have you? Sorry, carry on.
No, go on.
And have you been back on the bike outside since?
Not yet, no. Other than I've rode my mountain bike round our garden just to see how it felt a few weeks ago. But mainly just because I haven't been able to, as far as I've been just spending, all this time doing physio work, trying to rebuild my shoulder. So yeah, it's going to happen soon.
Do you think you will go back? You actually want to go back on your bike outside again? And I guess how will that feel?
Definitely, yeah. I think the first time I'll go out probably just for a ride around the forest tracks, without traffic, and just to make sure everything actually feels okay, like steering and stopping and stuff like that. I don't feel like I'm in a rush to go back out on the roads, but yeah, I think it'll happen. Because I can't actually remember it. I don't have that, I don't have that association with things. It was probably the time in hospital afterwards that was a bit more traumatic. But yeah, so I'd sort of, I can't wait to get out. Maybe Spain feels a bit safer on the roads out there. So
no, definitely. Well, I'm sure if you want anyone to ride with for the first time, we can all go out for a ride and get you through that first hour safely, and then sure you'll be fine. Would it change? I know you say you might do a bit more off-road riding. I think I'm already going that way a bit more now because of recent events and just the roads getting busier. And but has it changed? Will you purposely ride at quieter times, or choose different routes, or just accept it's one of those things that happened?
Yeah, I think I must admit I kind of like the idea of more. I mean, I used to ride off-road mountain biking all the time. So I only started really riding on the road when I started doing triathlons. But and it was convenient to go straight from my house out on the road. But yeah, so I think I'll probably start with a gravel bike, and then you can mix it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I can get back to just riding on the road and not worry about things. Otherwise, you're kind of limiting what you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And how's the recovery going? Are you pretty much now back up to the shoulders moving okay again, or is there still long-lasting injuries?
Yeah, I think I'm sort of at the point where I can do a lot more now. I can drive, I can walk the dog, just those basic things. But as far as functionality, it's probably going to be 5 months now. They reckon it'll be 12 to 18 months before I get to the point where things aren't going to improve. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm quite kind of focused on getting as well as I can in that first 12 months.
So it's also important not to rush these things as well. I know sometimes it's easy to say from the outside, isn't it? But a couple of months here means that you don't rush back into it and hurt something else, or it never quite fixes, and you're not spending 5 years getting on top of it rather than rehabbing it properly. But it does take a lot of motivation. I'm sure anyone out there who has done this or recovered from a serious injury before, it does just take a lot of motivation to get back. And in some ways, it's almost harder when it's a real sudden thing, I find. Like nothing compared to yours, but when I broke my arm in Leeds, it was almost like 1 minute you're fine, 1 minute you're not, and then you got all this rehab to do. When I've had injuries before, where say you've had a niggle in your hip for weeks, months, you're almost relieved at the start of the injury that you know what to do to get on top of it. So you're like, oh, well, I was really pleased with that because that pain was really annoying me for 6 months. And now I know how to get on top of it. Whereas, something when it's sudden, you're a bit like, oh, okay, why did that happen? But, fair play to you to spending all the time doing the rehab. And how much time a week have you dedicated to that?
I'd probably say it ranges between like 1 to 2 hours a day. But then I'm not, I was training 2 to 5 hours a day anyway. So it's kind of, you just reallocate that time into, the areas that matter the most, really. I think it's just at the start, you're trying to figure out what you need to be doing, but also it's that building, when you've come to a stop in your training. And I think this is the same if you've had a break as well. You need to get that momentum going again. And once you get the momentum and the routine and the consistency, it carries you through the stuff, that might get in the way sometimes. But if you don't have that momentum in it, and then you come up against a problem, you just end up coming to a stop. So a lot of it's been about just building momentum with consistency and having people around you that are going to support that as well. To me, that was the big thing. It's just having a really good group of people helping me, and that's made a massive difference.
That's what I've always done. If I've ever had anything involve rehab, firstly, my philosophy has been make it as easy as possible. So, can you do a few sessions a week at home, so you don't have to go to the gym? Because if you go to the gym, it might take you 3 hours to do an hour and a half session. When you do go to the gym, can you get people to meet you for those sessions? So you've got to be there at 10 o'clock. It's actually becomes your social side of it. And then once you're there, you don't want to let those people down. So you kind of got to do rehab anyway. It becomes tough when you turn to the gym by yourself and you're like, oh, here we go. You get your AirPods on and then you go, okay, I'm going home now, I'm bored. So, definitely. I guess, finally, I've seen your Yorkshire tea bottle behind. That was a prize from the Brownlee Fitness training camp that we did last February time. And we've got a few spaces left for that. So, well, firstly, what did you think of the camp last February? And would you recommend it to any other Brownlee Fitness members, or get anyone else really who wants to join us?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a good location as well, in Spain. I thought the week was one of the best weeks I've had training, and it kind of reminded me a bit of when there was some really good times in the army, and you were working with a really good team. You always surprise yourself how much you can actually do when you're surrounded by like-minded people. And I know we did quite a lot of, felt like in the end, quite a lot of training, but at the time it didn't feel that much because everybody was going in the same direction. And the way it was structured was really good. You didn't have to do everything if you didn't want to. But I had an absolutely brilliant time. Obviously, meeting you and Al, meeting all the other coaches as well. But actually, just meeting everybody and having all those like-minded people together for that week, it was just really, really rewarding. And I think it carried for a lot of us, it sort of stimulated a lot of momentum going into the year. It being, I think it was February, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So everyone came home from that absolutely buzzing and going, oh, actually, I can do I can cope with 20+ hours of training a week if I can fit it in. So yeah, no, it was fantastic. I definitely recommend it.
I know, good. I think it's a good time of year, February as well, because like you say, you something to look forward to aim to get through December, January, get through that in February. Hopefully that carries you through March, and then before you know it, you're kind of coming out at the end of winter now, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. But no, thank you very much. It's been absolutely fascinating, and I am definitely looking forward to talking to you. Well, I'll talk to you before, obviously, but talking to you in a couple of years' time to really get a strategy of eating sausage rolls and what training to do for some of the ultra races that I'm going to hopefully do in the future. So, no, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been really good, and yeah, I think you'll I'm sure you'll relish the opportunity to do a big adventure like the Spine race.
Now, I want to do that kind of thing before my body gives up, basically. I'll start to give up. So I better get on with that soon.
Thank you, Jayson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jayson, for joining Everyone Can Try. It was amazing to hear your story fully, and actually having you on the podcast was such a pleasure. So thank you so much. We are now joined by Adam Dart, our Athlete of the Week. So let's head to there and see what he says about joining the squad and being a squad coach. Amazing. Well, I'm joined by Adam, who is actually our Athlete of the Week. But funny enough, he's also the squad coach in Brownlee Fitness. So he joins us as athlete and as squad coach. So welcome, Adam, to Everyone Can Try podcast.
Thank you very much. It's nice to speak to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for joining us. So to get straight into it, how did you get into multisport?
I got into multisport probably about 7, 8, 9 years ago, a long time ago now. But I got into it from a running background, and then I realised I quite like cycling. And then my parents kind of said, "Well, why don't you give triathlon a go?" And I'm sure they've regretted that decision since then, after the bank balance has gone down. Yeah, I gave triathlon a go when I was quite young. Realised I loved cycling and running, not swimming so much, but I could put up with the swim to enjoy the bike and the run, and just kind of went from there really, and then progressed into more adult races when I got to like 17, 18. And then I got told about duathlon, which is right up my street because it didn't involve swimming. And then I kind of went in the direction of age group racing in World European Champs in duathlon. Although I have now come back into doing half Ironmans and triathlons through the fact that I've been pushed into just about liking swimming now. So it's gone full circle. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing. And what would you say your favourite discipline is out of the three?
That's a really tough one, actually, because it changes depending on what event I do and how well I do in each event. But normally I'd say my favourite discipline is the run, closely followed by the bike.
Interesting. And swimming clearly is the least still.
I'd like to say I do love swimming now. I love swim training, and I love swimming in the sea. And I love swimming in the sea, but yeah, it's still my weak discipline. So
love that. And then going in, because of course now you're a squad coach with us, and it's been for a while. What would you say your favourite thing about being a squad coach with Brownlee Fitness is? And I guess you can also say athlete as well, because you're both.
I mean, my favourite thing about being a squad coach is actually seeing athletes progress. And you hear some amazing stories of athletes going from like quite low level at not doing much, and then they compete some amazing triathlons, and just hearing the stories about what races they've done, seeing their times progress is quite good to know. And it's a nice pat on the back as well. It's like, okay, they're doing well. It's good to know the training's working. So yeah, it's a nice feeling when other athletes do well.
Love that. And did you ever think that you would be like coaching athletes? Is that something that ever crossed your mind before?
It crossed my mind a few times when I've been growing up. Not that much, because obviously I didn't really look at it much at university, but it always did cross my mind, because I was always giving people advice on training and stuff, and just advice on running. So it was always at the back of my mind, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay, and last question is, what would you say your most embarrassing moment in multisport has been so far?
That's a tough one, but I'd probably go all the way back to when I first started duathlons and first started seriously competing, I was doing a qualifier event at Bedford Autodrome in a duathlon, and I miscounted my laps on my bike, and I came into transition a lap early, realised that I wasn't leading, I was just coming a lap early, and then had to go back out on my bike again to do an extra lap, which was pretty bad and not very nice when I then came back in dead last. So yeah, that was pretty embarrassing and quite annoying.
Oh no, I can imagine how annoying that is. I'm sure people listening probably have done exactly the same, so I'm sure it's not just you. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, thank you again. And looking forward to your training and also seeing you grow in coaching for sure.
Thank you very much, Grace. It's been good talking to you.
You too. Thank you so much, Adam. It was a pleasure having you on as our athlete of the week, and it was great to hear what it was like to be a squad coach and also be an athlete at the same time. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share on your stories, tag us, subscribe, give us some comments, and let us know what questions you would like answered on the Everyone Can Try podcast. And we'll see you again next week.